What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the stimulus check update, fourth stimulus package update, and everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. Money, investing, the stock market, and daily news here. We covered all here on our channel. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe right now so you don't miss out on new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's completely free to subscribe and help us reach 400,000 subscribers. We're almost there. And also, thanks so much for hitting the like button for us. You guys are absolutely amazing. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on here. Let's jump right in. And I'd like to thank today's sponsor, StartMail. StartMail is a completely private email solution, protecting your data, activity, and privacy. Most people don't know that all your data and information in your email isn't private. A lot of big companies sell your information and make millions of dollars doing so. When I found StartMail, I started using it immediately for all my financial, emails, and business correspondence. I definitely feel much more secure using StartMail for sensitive data emails. And it's super easy to switch over to StartMail. Transferring all your information is super easy to do. Your cybersecurity is more at risk than ever. Scammers and data selling has skyrocketed in the past year. Start protecting your personal information today with StartMail. Go to startmail.com/Jimmy or the links down below in the description of this video and the pinned comment of this video and get 50% off your first year. Thanks again to StartMail. Again, go to the link down below in the description of this video or in the pinned comment of this video for 50% off your first year. Once again, the country is getting absolutely slammed, starting to, from yet another winter storm. Yeah, dozens of states are going to potentially or starting to now get over a foot of snow yet again. And ice storms this time around. You can't make this stuff up, right? Yeah, and potentially millions of people going to be snowed in yet again. Wow, I know. It's just like, can Mother Winter give us a break here? Yeah, if the freezing and below zero temperatures in a lot of states hasn't been enough, it's been snow after snow after snow after snow. Yeah, so let me know if you're snowed in right now. Let me know if you could open your door, if you've been having to shovel relentlessly over and over and over. Yeah, it's been rough here in a lot of different states, and let me know if it's coming down where you are. My thoughts and prayers go out to a lot of people as the winter storms and the power outages and the sub-zero temperatures just seem to be relentless. Also, President Biden, yeah, he's got a lot going on here as well. Actually, I should say this first. There was actually over 3,000 flights for today canceled alone. Already this morning, 3,000 flights canceled for Thursday alone. Two major airports in Texas completely canceled, serving Dallas and Fort Worth were among the most affected, even all the way down south in the great state of Texas. Close to 3,000 flights already canceled for today. Yeah, it was the second time this week that travelers were hit with massive cancellations due to winter weather. Is it ever going to stop? And we're only here at the beginning of February. I know. And it seems like nowadays that winter has shifted because we really don't get bad winter. It seems like nowadays in the early part of winter, like, Christmas, it doesn't seem like a lot of areas get a white Christmas anymore. It's now like January, February, March, and even parts of April now. So yeah, it feels like winter just got started in January and now we're just getting completely dumped on. Yeah, if you're in one of the areas that's even gets winter, and now it seems like everybody does, because even Texas and the lower states are getting it. Even southern Florida having to deal with the falling iguanas, right? Yeah, so let me know if you're dodging falling iguanas and frozen iguanas down in southern Florida, right? Yeah, it's you can't make this stuff out right here. yeah, yeah. Oh wait. Oh yeah. We're dodging fallen iguanas there. Yeah. So, but President Biden made a major announcement last night. Check this out. President Biden has now officially sent 2,000 troops over to Europe amid the stalled Ukraine and Russia talks. So, officially now, we have sent troops over to Europe regarding this whole Russia and Ukraine situation. Now, they're not supposed to actually go into Ukraine, but they are going to Europe. Here's the details. President Biden is ordering 2,000 US based troops to Poland and Germany and shifting 1,000 more from Germany to Romania. So, three different countries there. So, it's actually 3,000 plus troops, demonstrating to both allies and foes that America's commitment to NATO's eastern flank amid fears of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Pentagon said last night. Russia fired back with a sharply worded objection, calling the deployments unfounded and, quote, destructive. Russian President Vladimir Putin said also had a new telephone exchange with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, but readouts from both governments showed no progress, with Putin saying the West was giving no ground on Russia's security concerns, and Johnson expressing deep concern about Russia's, quote, hostile activity on the Ukrainian border, where they have over 100,000 troops. The Biden administration is aiming to demonstrate the U.S. resolve without undermining efforts to find a diplomatic solution to the crisis, they hope. Biden notably has not sent military reinforcements yet to the Baltic countries on NATO's eastern flank, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, that are former states of the Soviet Union. No U.S. troops are being sent to Ukraine. They say, as of yet, we'll have to see if that ends up changing. That would be a big change if that actually happens. And White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on Wednesday said the administration has stopped calling a Russian invasion imminent. But the word implies Washington knows Putin has made a decision to invade. Yeah, let's read that again. Because that word implies Washington knows that Putin has made a decision to invade. The word imminent. Officials say that Putin's intentions remain unclear. Now, Putin has said that U.S. troops adding to the situation would be intolerable and would complicate the situation. But President Biden says that we have to uphold this treaty with NATO, and multiple other countries do as well. And this is part of the reason why Putin needs to not invade Ukraine. And if they do, there will be significant sanctions along with cutting off Russia's money supply and potential Russian banks and a whole bunch of sanctions that would potentially cripple the entire Russian country, and their diplomats and their citizens, along with their top ranking officials, their families, everything like that. So they could have imports and exports cut off, their money supply cut off, banks cut off. It could be severe, and this could provoke Russia. Who knows what could happen after that if that happens? So, if you're Russia, you really got to kind of think this through. What would happen if you actually did this? Because they could very easily take over Ukraine. They have them outnumbered dramatically. The question is, what would happen after this? And don't forget that China has also kind of backed Russia's situation. So, yeah, it's very, very complicated. We really just don't want this to happen. But when you get into world politics and this country's allies with that country and that country's allies with this country and that country and this country and then NATO and then the whole, it's just it's very complicated. So it's just something that we would prefer to just not happen. But meanwhile, Russia has 100,000 troops just sitting on the border, not moving. But then if you're Russia and you retreat, it could also to them seem like they're backing down. So you never really quite know what they're thinking. You can let me know what you think is going to happen. We'll have to see how this plays out. Meanwhile, this has spooked the stock market. We had last week, we had the stock market crashing. Then we had four very dramatic up days here. And then the futures for this morning were in the tank. Facebook stock, which is now known as Meta, just missed their earnings and several different targets in pre or in earnings that was disclosed after the market closed yesterday. It really wasn't off by that much, but they missed several different targets, and their stock dropped by 20% after the close last night. And in pre-market trading here, it's down by 20%. It was actually down by 22% at one point. That just shows how scary the market here is at one point. Disregard this green here. We're looking at this 20% here pre-market trading, and the Nasdaq itself is down by almost 2% in pre-market trading. Yeah, it's just the stock market's just been very volatile lately. Also because of the Omicron variant, still very volatile as well. The jobs report was just out and was really bad. We had over 300,000 jobs lost in January, which was a sharp decline here. The White House is trying to walk that back and say, well, it was just kind of temporary and it really wasn't that bad. And really, it's just the economy has been struggling along for many months. There's so many people that are still struggling. I mean, there's 25% of Americans that 70 or 80 million Americans that can't pay their bills, are struggling to pay their bills. There's a lot of people. There was 8.8 million people that couldn't go to work because of just at one particular time they couldn't go to work because they were in quarantine. And think about how many people can't even file for unemployment anymore. I've seen a lot of comments in the comment section that people, I had a comment that said, they say there's jobs out there, but I've been applying for jobs and they don't even call me back. They don't even call me back for jobs. They say there's jobs out there, but every time I go to apply for jobs, nobody even calls me back. So where are these jobs that are out there? So there's a whole bunch of problems with this economy that aren't really easily solved. Meanwhile, as they try to pass, there's several different stimulus options and provisions, and the child tax credits have now expired for 60 million children. You got to think that's another thing that is really hurting a lot of people. You got to think 60 million children are now did not get that January 15th payment. And the way it's looking, there's not going to be a February 15th payment either because that's what, 12 days away? They'd have to pass it like pretty much today to get that out here within the next 12 days. So the White House said if they did pass it, they could do a double payment in February. But as my father would say, they got to get on their horse. Now, Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, the two largely responsible for this, are been taking a lot of criticism. And check this article out. Regarding Senator Kirsten Sinema, as major donors abandon Senator Kirsten Sinema, top Democratic consultants under pressure to follow. Senator Kirsten Sinema has been losing her donors that have previously donated to her campaign left and right. So while there's been reports that Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin have been getting some donations, some donors from Republicans, those are few compared to the amount of donors they get from the Democratic Party. the Democratic Party, people that donate to them from the Democratic Party, vastly outweigh the few Republican donors they get because, by and large, Republicans donate to Republicans, Democrats donate to Democrats. I mean, that kind of makes common sense if you think about it. There's been a few Republicans, very wealthy Republicans, billionaires and stuff, that have donated to Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema and have given quite a lot of money. But by and large, if Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema lose their Democrat donors, they would lose the bulk of the people that donate to their campaigns. And when they go up for reelection, that's where you really need the money. And remember, Senator Kirsten Sinema also got censured by her Arizona Democratic Commission, the actual, the state Democratic Commission. And if they don't back her, she could really be in trouble when she goes up for reelection. Remember that she's a freshman senator, it's her first term, and she could really be in trouble. Joe Manchin has a little bit more backing. He used to be the governor of West Virginia, and he's a senator as well. He has a little bit more footing in West Virginia than Kirsten Sinema does. Listen to what this says. Opponents of Kirsten Sinema have escalated their fight against the Arizona senator by going after the vendors that work with her campaign. After she refused to budge on doing away with the filibuster rules that would have cleared the way for voting rights legislation and the Build Back Better situation as well. This is just kind of like the second straw that broke the camel's back. The new tactics in the wake of the voting rights failure that Democrats say is urgently needed to protect democracy from Republican attacks on the ballot box. And after some Democratic donors to Sinema warned in a January letter that her inaction would lead them to abandon her and ask her for their money back. Wow. Ian Danley, the executive director of Arizona Wins, a coalition of more than 30 progressive groups, including Lucha Arizona, Mi Familia Voda, Our Voice, Our Vote, and others, knocked on 2 million doors for Kirsten Sinema. And together they spent $20 million during the last cycle. So that just gives you an idea of the type of money it takes and the type of support and the type of rallying, the type of like people and the type of campaigning it takes to kind of win a Senate seat. So they knocked on 2 million doors to get her to win that seat, and they spent $20 million. Now here's the thing. All these groups and donors and stuff, they're no longer backing her. So what they're probably going to do is they're probably going to back another Democratic candidate when Kirsten Sinema goes up for re-election. So, I mean, this is kind of what's going on. After tweeting about the Democratic consulting firms and vendors that work with Sinema, but also have other Democrats and progressive groups as clients, Danley said his group would not continue to work with vendors who work with her. So now they're not only pulling support for Kirsten Sinema, but they're actually saying that vendors and companies that work with her, they're pulling support for them too, kind of putting pressure on companies and sponsors that work with her as well. Quote, I let somebody go yesterday, Danley told Newsweek, declining to identify the vendor. His comment was, if I get 2 or 3 more calls like this, that's the scope of the work I have with her. I'm going to talk to my partners. Danley said his argument to the consultant was, at this point, Emily's list has dropped. There's no one left in her corner, but a lot of us still have a lot of work to do. Emily's List, a national organization that supports women candidates who back abortion rights, was Sinema's largest donor in 2018, contributing more than $405,000. I assume that's just in that 1 year. So Kirsten Sinema has now lost her largest donor, it looks like. Yeah. Yeah, so honestly, you can let me know your thoughts, but it looks like Kirsten Sinema is gonna be feeling a lot of pressure. Joe Manchin, he seems like a more hard-headed type of guy. You know, his reactions kind of were recently "Bring it on," so I don't know. We'll have to see. West Virginia is kind of like his kind of reactions were like kind of like people like I'm from the Bronx, like bring it on type of thing. So you kind of know where I'm going from here, right? So Kirsten Sinema, I just my kind of guess here. I'd be surprised if she wins a reelection, just kind of from what I hear. I get more people that say. Uh, I support Joe Manchin more than I hear I support Kirsten Sinema. I don't really hear many people say I support Kirsten Sinema. I do hear people say I support Joe Manchin or I don't support Joe Manchin, but I don't hear many people say I support Kirsten Sinema at all. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments, especially if you're from Arizona. But I've seen a lot of people from Arizona say that they just don't support her at all. Joe Manchin, on the other hand, I get both sides. I get some people that say they support him, because I get people from both sides for Joe Manchin, especially, you can let me know your thoughts. A lot of people are against Joe Manchin, but West Virginia has been a Republican state in the recent past. So remember, he leans Republican. So that's why he kind of won recently, because he's a Republican leaner. So, because he's not far left Democrat, so that's why he leans Republican. This is kind of when we get into the politics here. So, Joe Manchin, whether he wins his reelection, you got to kind of understand each individual state. You look at Nancy Pelosi, she wins by a landslide. You look at Mitch McConnell, he wins by a landslide. They're completely different people, right? Mitch McConnell just won his Senate term. Remember, they win 6-year terms in the Senate. Okay, Nancy Pelosi's from the House. They only have 2-year terms. Every 2 years, she comes up for reelection and wins by a landslide. Mitch McConnell just won by a landslide. He's going to be there for 6 more years until he's 85 years old. Okay, and they're completely different point of views. Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi. I love them or hate them, right? But they have completely different point of views. One's a far Democrat and one's a far Republican. They're just like they hate each other, right? They're completely opposite point of views. Like they're nowhere even near the same point of view. You have to look at the districts they come from, the areas they come from, the states they come from, and kind of like understand the people and the point of views that they come from, right? So to see Joe Manchin getting reelected in West Virginia and Kirsten Sinema getting reelected in Arizona, you kind of got to understand where they come from. And that's where the Democrats are frustrated, because all the other Democrats are voting yes on these packages, except for those two. And that's why all the Democrats are like, why aren't they voting with all the other Democrats? It's everybody except for these two kind of loners. They're just kind of like off on their own agenda, and all the other Democrats are voting yes. And meanwhile, we're in a pandemic, and there's just like 80 million people out there that really need help right now. So let me know your thoughts. I'm going to keep you up to date here with everything. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. Just click subscribe right now so you don't miss out on new videos and help us reach 400,000 subscribers. You can click here to watch my newest video next, or you can click here to see new money that's coming out to dozens of states here this month. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.